briefly, y'all's decision. What do you think? Should he have the ability to get out of prison is the question that you now have to ask yourself. We're not going to go back through the proof. You've heard it. You know it very, very well. But I do want to talk to you for a second about life without the possibility of parole. In the legal system, we refer to it as LWOP. The state of Tennessee is not always entitled to seek life without the possibility of parole. You've heard now that there have to be aggravating circumstances present for the state to even ask a jury to find life without the possibility of parole. In this case, it's very simple. Tennessee state law allows life without the possibility of parole if the murder was especially heinous or atrocious or cruel, in that it involved torture or serious physical abuse beyond that necessary to produce death. And then it goes on to define those terms. I hate that I even have to say this, but if he was going to kill her like he did, he could have done it in other ways. He could have killed her in other ways where we would not be here for this sentencing hearing. If he would have shot her and left her in his apartment, we wouldn't be here for life without the possibility of parole. It doesn't qualify under this aggravating circumstance. If he would have stabbed her once or twice and left her in his apartment, we wouldn't be here. It doesn't qualify under this aggravating circumstance. He chose not to do that. He chose repeatedly the amount of stones that were in that glass vase to stab her and slice her. And then he chose more physical abuse. I think we can all agree that stuffing her in garbage bags in a suitcase is additional physical abuse on top of what was necessary to kill her. The medical examiner said that she could have lived for minutes, that even the wound to the neck would not have instantly killed her. That is heinous and atrocious and beyond what was necessary to kill her. That is cruel. That is vile. The entire case is vile. I feel terrible for Jason's family. It is very sad to see his mom up there on that witness stand. Shame on him. He didn't just do this to Jasmine's family. It is horrible to watch that he did it to his own family. I can't even fathom what they must feel like. But I want you to ask yourself something. Did you see or feel legitimate, genuine remorse for the Pace family? Did you? Does it make it better that he was privileged, that he had parents and a brother that cared about him, that he's been a, quote, good kid, he was a good child? No mental health conditions we've heard about, no issues. He was a student. Does that make it better or does that make it worse? I think that makes it a lot worse. Because there are kids in our communities that have hard lives, that struggle with drugs, with mental health issues, that grew up in bad homes, that had hard life. That's not him. He took everything his family had given him and he squandered it and he ruined the Pace's life. That doesn't make it better. It makes it worse. All we are asking is that he never gets out of prison. Jasmine Pace never got out of that suitcase until she was in a coffin, in which her family members had to testify today that there had to be so much wax on her body. She was unrecognizable. That is heinous and atrocious and cruel. Period. Just like yesterday, we ask that you go back there, talk about it, make the right decision, and make sure he never gets out of prison. Thank you.
I know that you sat through a long trial, and I know there's things, I think the state's right, you saw things that you won't forget, I won't forget. I want to tell each and every one of you, thank you for your time, your patience, your consideration. But you're tasked with a profound and somber responsibility in this part of the trial. You get to decide whether Jason gets life with parole or never be released. Both options are severe and a significant punishment. I think it reflects the seriousness of the case, but it's critical that you remember that every tragic crime has equal magnitude under the law. Your duty today is not to ensure punishment. It's to make sure it's also proportionate. I've spoken with many victims' families. They don't care if you're shot or stabbed or strangled or drowned or any of one of those things. Every single murder is especially heinous, atrocious, and cruel. General Moyle talked to you about that yesterday. Every murder is emotional. There's always a family that loses someone. General Wamp is right. The Pace and the Bean family lost a very important person. It's tragic, sad. And I agree, the Chen family have lost a child too. There's two families hurting. It's important to know that the law distinguishes crimes that are inherently tragic with those that rise to the most egregious levels of brutality, deserving permanent condemnation. The question you must ask yourself when you're back in that jury room is whether or not this case reaches that threshold. Does it rise to the level that Jason Chen, a 73-year-old man, be forever denied an opportunity to demonstrate remorse, rehabilitation, and redemption? Jason will face the consequences of his actions. He's been convicted. But the question is, are you willing to grant him the hope of redemption? In 51 years, Jason will be an old man. He won't have the ability to harm society. Life with parole is not a guarantee of release. It's a narrow and difficult path. It requires a demonstration of transformation, accountability, and change. It acknowledges that punishment is necessary, but our society values the possibility of rehabilitation. Our justice system is not only a measure of how we treat the most virtuous and innocent among us, but also a reflection of how we treat the condemned. Dostoevsky once wrote, "The degree of civilization in a society is revealed by entering its prisons." By allowing Jason the possibility of parole, we affirm our society's belief that the most condemned among us can strive to rebuild their humanity. You're not tasked with forgiving Jason Chen or even excusing his actions. You are tasked with ensuring justice, a justice tempered with mercy, not because Jason deserves it, but because it's a reflection of our humanity as a whole. I ask that, and we ask, that you give Jason the opportunity at a 73-year-old man to seek this redemption. Let him spend the next 5 decades behind bars, reflecting on the choices that he made when he was 22 years old. And only then and only then, if he can demonstrate true remorse and true rehabilitation, let society consider whether he can return. A life sentence with the possibility of parole is still a life sentence. It's not leniency, it's accountability. And it's paired with the belief that justice must allow room for hope. By sentencing Jason to life in prison with the possibility of parole, you honor the principles of our justice system. You honor justice. You honor humanity. And most importantly, you honor the possibility of redemption.